Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. I'm just going to turn my iPad down. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of EP Live. Happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. We've got lots of great material in EP Live today, including a little bit of Star Wars stuff. We don't want to overdo it, although R2 and BB-8 are joining us. We're going to be talking about some cool ports to the Nintendo Switch, and we've got some cool reviews to get to as well. But we're going to start things off like we always do with our rundown. And today's rundown is going out to Dr. Krim, who says, "I love you, Victor. Never stop making content, please." I will never stop, and this rundown is all yours. Battlegrounds developer Bluehole has suspended the personal trading of in-game items between players. Until now, players could either sell items using the Steam market system or trade them directly between players, but Bluehole says too many people are abusing the direct trading system and instead using it as a way to sell items on third-party sites. Not only does this take revenue away from the developers and Steam, but it can also be used to promote gambling, which opens up a whole new set of legal problems. The developers have turned off personal trading while they search for a solution, although they haven't said what that solution might be or how long it will take to find. See, this is exactly what happens when half of your life is virtual and it's all about sort of leveling up in these multiplayer experiences like this. You are going to have this tangible kind of connection to the assets, these virtual assets that you can either unlock or purchase, and it will create an economy. And it's so difficult to police this. We've seen huge publishers like Blizzard and lots of people try to figure out how to kind of circumnavigate this. It's treacherous, it's tricky, and it could really tarnish a whole game brand. So, my hat's off to Bluehole. They are thrust into the fire, and it's all based on the popularity of their experience here. But they're learning some valuable lessons, and they're going to kind of, have to create policy that I think will be picked up by other developers and lots of Battle Royale developers out there as well. These are very interesting times. I mean, if you are in the multiplayer arena and you are in these highly competitive games that take so much of your time, then you're going to want whatever sort of benefits that you can. And a lot of people are resorting to cheating, and a lot of people are resorting to just buying their way to victory. And it's sad. But it's kind of understandable if so much of a person's life is devoted to being kick-ass in a video game like this. Very interesting times, but hopefully they're going to set up some new plans and some new strategies for gamers so that it's fair for everybody, and they're making the money that they need to keep adding new content, and everybody can gather in a circle and sing Kumbaya before they blast each other's heads off. All right, the Nintendo Switch Pro controller isn't just for the Nintendo Switch anymore. The latest update for Steam includes full support for the Switch Pro controller, allowing players to use the controller natively on the platform. Until now, if you wanted to make the controller work with PC games, it required a bit of tricky customization, so the Steam update makes it easier and also allows you to remap the button layout. The Xbox One and PS4 controllers already work on Steam, and as for the Switch Joy-Cons, those also work with most PCs and Macs, but you'll need to install custom drivers. That's interesting days, right? You've got these controllers that you can bring around to every machine. I am waiting for the day when Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft all work together to create some sort of universal applications for their game controllers, because it'd be great to be able to just carry your favorite one. And I know a lot of people are all super Xbox One controller, and a lot of people are all DualShock, and I think a lot of people have decided that the Switch Pro is their favorite. It'd be great to be able to take whatever one is your favorite and go to whatever platform that you want. But I think that's a bit utopian. I don't know if they can't even all agree on cross-platform play at this point here. So I think we're still years away from a universal controller, but that will be interesting. Did you see that Blake almost destroyed my Kratos? He almost let him fall. I saved my baby. Coochie coochie coo. Okay, let's move on. Television audiences are going to find out what we do in the shadows. FX has ordered a 10-episode first season of a new show based on the 2014 comedy film What We Do in the Shadows. The film is written and directed by Flight of the Conchords star Jermaine Clement and Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi, who also starred in the film, and it tells the story of a group of vampires who live together in present-day New Zealand. Clement and Waititi are serving as executive producers on the new show, although it's unclear if they'll reprise their roles in front of the camera. Expect the show to hit the airwaves next year. My guess is that they both will be in the show. I know that they love this movie, and they love that they work together on this movie. I follow both of them on Twitter. I'm a huge fan of both of these guys, and I know how much this means to them. And I suspect that they're going to find time in their very busy schedules to really hit this one out of the park, because this could go on for a long time. I've heard the movie is incredible. Sadly, I have not seen it yet, and when I do, I promise you I will review it, but I've heard that it's phenomenal. And interesting side note, Taika Waititi was in that terrible Green Lantern movie. He was Hal Jordan's buddy, so he shared the screen. He was sort of extra comic relief next to Ryan Reynolds, and he couldn't save that movie. So that's how bad Green Lantern was. The amazing and awesomely talented Taika Waititi could not save the Green Lantern debacle. All right, moving on. Netflix has severed ties with Kevin Spacey, but another alleged abuser will be back on the streaming service. Entertainment Weekly reports that the upcoming 5th season of Arrested Development will include actor Jeffrey Tambor, who's had troubling sexual assault allegations made against him by 2 different women. Tambor has denied the allegations, but Amazon fired him from their series Transparent after conducting an internal investigation and finding the allegations credible. The new season of Arrested Development finished filming back in November, right before the allegations against Tambor surfaced, so it's unclear if Netflix would have had him back if they had known ahead of time. The new season of Arrested Development doesn't have a premiere window, and that is exactly why we haven't heard about the new season of Arrested Development. If it was finished a while ago and we don't know when it's coming, it's because I think Netflix is trying to wait to see if the Jeffrey Tambor stuff is going to blow over. It's too bad. This guy is an incredible actor. He's incredibly talented, just like Kevin Spacey is. But these ridiculous, idiots that abuse their power and abuse people around them, they deserve what they're getting. You can't be an asshole in this world, and karma, it catches up with you. And if and it sounds credible if all the allegations are true, and Amazon has done a thorough job investigating it. So, I suspect that if enough, it's hitting the news, and EP is reporting on this as well as lots of other outlets out there. I suspect that Netflix is going to change their mind about airing this new season of Arrested Development, and it'll be a write-off for them. I don't think that I think there will be a furor if. You got to say that carefully. I think people will be very pissed off if the news spreads that Jeffrey Tambor is in the new season of Arrested Development, and people will not be happy with Netflix if the guy is an abuser and he's getting rewarded for it. So this will be an interesting story to watch. But yeah, man, I think it's great if people are abusing other people and being called out for it and losing their jobs because they're assholes. I think that's probably a pretty good sign for the world. It's too bad that we're losing some incredible talents, but it's important to be a good person. That's all I've got to say about that. Anyways, that's our rundown for today. Let's move on to this day in Everything Cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for May 4th. On this day in 1999, an ancient movie franchise was dug up and reborn. The Mummy was released in theaters starring Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. The film was loosely based on the black and white horror movie starring Boris Karloff, but instead of being a straight-up horror movie, this Mummy was firmly in the action-adventure genre. The tone of The Mummy, with its mix of action, comedy, horror, and old-time adventure, helped set the tone of many films that followed throughout the 2000s. Several direct sequels and spin-offs like The Scorpion King followed, and in 2017, Universal attempted to reboot the franchise again with Tom Cruise. The less said about that movie, the better. On May 4th, 2005, the Galactic Empire rose on video game consoles. LucasArts released the video game adaptation of Star Wars Episode III: Revenge of the Sith on the PS2, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, and Nintendo DS. Players took the role of either Obi-Wan Kenobi or Anakin Skywalker and then relived events from the film with fluid and fun lightsaber combat. The game was a success, arguably better than the film itself, with the lightsaber combat being especially popular. Revenge of the Sith also holds another distinction. It was the last Star Wars game directly based on one of the films, not including the Lego Star Wars games. May 4th, 2008 was a big day for animated television. Family Guy and American Dad creator Seth MacFarlane inked an unprecedented $100 million deal with Fox to develop new shows and create additional seasons of his existing shows. This made MacFarlane the highest paid television writer and producer in history and was a huge turnaround from just a few years earlier. Fox had canceled Family Guy after the end of its third season in 2003, but strong DVD sales made them reconsider, and it was brought back to life with a fourth season in 2005. That show is still on at Fox, although American Dad moved over to another network, TBS, in 2014 after the Fox deal expired. Hats off to Seth MacFarlane, you incredibly rich and talented individual, you. It is time now for us to move on with a review of a movie I just finished watching on Netflix. It just premiered today. It's called Anon, and it's directed by Andrew Niccol, who brought us the incredible Gattaca. And he wrote it, produced it, and directed Anon, and he is a force to be reckoned with. This is an incredibly intelligent director who has a predilection for building cool, moody and kind of dark science fiction, and he's done it again with Anon. Stars Clive Owen and Amanda Seyfried, or Seyfried. I don't know exactly how to say her last name. And it's all about this future where people cannot live anonymously. And the movie deals with the fact that we have to kind of give over all of our identity and everything about us to the ether, to this sort of more advanced version of the internet. And people walk around the streets and they basically have all of these implants in their brains and in their eyes, and everybody that they look at, every surface that they see has information on it that is sort of captured in our augmented brains. And we can look at a person and we can see their entire statistics and where they work and how old they are and all that stuff, probably what they earn and everything. And so what Andrew Niccol has done, he shot it, I think, on the streets of New York, but it's not really about a place, because I think what happens in this future world that Niccol has created for this movie is that everything is kind of the same, and there's no signage, no physical signage, there's no branding, and the streets are quiet because all of the information that we collect. And it's basically an extrapolation of us all being addicted to our smartphones today, but all of the information that we collect is done silently, and it's just done through this augmented reality of us walking around and seeing all this data and stuff. So all the billboards are gone. You don't hear people chattering or talking in the streets. All the vehicles are they're sort of classic retro vehicles that have been redone with hydro cells in there. So it's a kind of an eerie quiet that you see throughout this movie, and I thought that was a fantastic design choice. And Niccol has also done the impossible and created these street scenes shot on location where they also feel incredibly almost gray and quiet and silent and not populated with lots of people. So must have picked some great location scouts and shot at weird hours to be able to get crowded city streets emptied, and everybody's sort of wearing these out-of-time period-type clothing, suits and hats and things like that, so you can't really place a time period. But there's that emptiness and that stillness and that quietness permeating throughout this movie. And what we're able to do, and what the people in the movie are able to do, is go into each other's perspective and see through their eyes. And so it's impossible to pull off crimes, which kind of echoes a little bit of the stuff that Spielberg did with Minority Report. Everybody has access to that data, especially the detectives and constables and things like that. It's a shared universe where everybody is accountable and everybody is a part of it. And so when people are anonymous, as Amanda Seyfried is in this movie, they really stand out. And she has this ability. She's a hacker that can kind of change in real time what people are seeing through their eyes. And there's sequences in the film where Clive Owen is like, I can't trust my eyes. I can't believe what I'm seeing. So it's a pretty cool, psychological meditation and definitely an examination of our obsession with getting all kinds of data as we walk through the streets in real life today. This really kind of, jumps forward a few decades and tries to imagine a world where we don't speak to each other. We can just sort of look at each other and sort of know what we want to convey, and we communicate through textual impulses that are just flashed across our shared consciousness. It's surreal, and like Gattaca, it kind of sticks with you. It devolves a little bit into a traditional whodunit. At one point in the script, Clive Owen even says that it's a whodunit, but it's so smart and it's so topical and it's so elegantly crafted, just like Gattaca was. It's got a resonance, and I really enjoyed the movie. And that's a plus mark for Netflix and the feature films that they've been making, because a lot of them have not been so great. I love The Ritual, though. That's another one that you need to go and track down. But Anon is actually really cool, and I think it's worth your time. I think the performances are pretty cool. There's a sexiness to the movie as well, because everything is so stylish, and there's a maturity about it. But not unlike Minority Report, it kind of undoes itself towards the end. It's still a cool flick, just like Minority Report is, but it doesn't have the budgets that even Gattaca had. It seems more hemmed in, but there's just an imaginative kind of explosion of ideas in this movie that lets you kind of go along with it for the ride. You can kind of imagine the greater world around this film, which is very cool. So I'm going to give Anon an 8.5 out of 10, and I recommend that you check it out on Netflix as soon as you can. All right, let's take a look at a buried treasure. As part of the growing list of things that Xbox is doing absolutely right, they have brought back Republic Commando to be able to be played on Xbox One systems out there. And this is a phenomenal experience. Of course, it takes place during the sort of prequel trilogy, but we'll excuse the fact that the movies weren't that great. What they did provide us with is a lot of great environments and some cool character designs and lots of great enemy types, lots of bugs to shoot at. In this game, which is a first-person shooter akin to some of the Rainbow Six titles, which were so popular back in the day and are still popular if you're still playing Rainbow Six Siege out there. You were playing one of the clone troopers, and you were sort of in charge of a squad, and you can, when you play in single player, you can guide them along. You've got all kinds of on-screen kinds of identifiers and UI pieces that will tell some of your teammates and squad mates where to go. You've got to, hack into doors and blast through things and drop grenades, and you don't really die as you're playing through the single-player campaign until all 4 of your squad is killed, which is kind of cool, so you can constantly, watch out for each other, because no clone trooper can be left behind. That's the rule. And you go into caves and installations, and you take out all kinds of baddies, and you hear from Yoda throughout the game, and you hear the cool Star Wars music, and you get the great Star Wars weapons. Lots of cool effects for its time. This was done on the Unreal Engine, and it looked amazing back in the day. It's not going to look quite as sharp and amazing today in 2018, but it's still absolutely something that should be played. Republic Commando rocks, and it breaks my heart that we never got a sequel, but maybe this will be so successful we may yet get a sequel, which would be amazing. May the 4th be with you, baby. When I was shooting that buried treasure, I was like, God, I really want to play that game. And so we're going to play that game a little bit later in our Let's Play and Chat, so stick around for that. But right now I want to talk about the Nintendo Switch. Over the past week, I've received a few review codes for some pretty big titles. And the thing that sort of makes them all unique or distinct is that they're ports of games that were on other platforms. And I thought this is a good time to kind of talk about this machine as the ultimate port system. I had a tweet that I sent out yesterday that got some people chattering on Twitter about the fact that the PSP and the Vita libraries are kind of sitting there dormant because Sony hasn't really done a good job at figuring out a way for people to take the data from those games and keep playing with them. And if you stack up a PSP UMD next to a Game Boy Advance cartridge, there's a better chance you're going to find an old DS or Game Boy Advance that you'll be able to play that very old cartridge on. Then the likelihood of you having a PSP that A is still got a battery that works or can still charge and will still run that UMD. And it's unfortunate that we can't play more of these PSP and Vita games in off of a television screen, and so that got me thinking about it. And then I went to my Switch and started playing South Park, Fractured But Whole, or it's the Fractured Butthole, the Fractured Butthole. You know what I'm saying? It was the superhero, kind of gag-filled video game where they're poking fun at the superhero genre with the South Park crowd. I've been playing that, and I'm hours into this game, and it's incredibly addictive. It starts off very, very, I'm kind of hemmed in. They're teaching you the mechanics, and I was like, okay, I'm just butting up against the edge of the walls, and it's funny that you get this superhero pop up and named the Coon, who says, "Look, you've reached the edge of our known universe. You can't go any further." Constantly poking fun at the video game tropes and limitations, and also sort of guiding you in a smart way through the mechanics of the game. But then, as you keep playing, you realize that no, you've got the entirety of the South Park town to kind of walk around in, and you engage in all kinds of fights with sixth graders, and then these Hooters waitress copycats called the Raisins. You fight them, and you fight priests, and you walk into a Planned Parenthood parody establishment, and there's some crude jokes about abortion. So all bets are off. One of the codes for getting into the lair of the Coon, and you eventually build your own little superhero team, and it's down in the basement of somebody's, I think it's Cartman's mom's house. It's F-U mom, but it's full swearing. It's a full mature thing. And it looks so cute, and it looks so innocuous and so silly, just like the South Park animated show does. But it plays... it definitely plays for an older crowd, and a crowd that's not too sensitive about things. It's sort of riding that edge, which the South Park show has been able to do for so long. I didn't play the Stick of Truth. That was a game that Jose and Ben reviewed for us on Reviews on the Run, and I've had it, and I played it for like a couple minutes, but I didn't stick with it. But this is a great RPG, and I love the fact that I can bring it with me. There's something about these massive role-playing experiences that you play it on the television for a bit, and then I played it on the plane when I was on the way back from Montreal. And you can cart it around, no pun intended, with you, and it makes it that much more compelling because you're not putting it away, getting your attention taken away by something else, and then trying to remember where you got to go or what you got to do when you go back to that game. Because it's portable and it plays wonderfully portably, it's a very easy game to get lost in. And I've been surprised at how much I enjoy the combat in there because, Cartman and... Actually, I don't think you play as at least I'm not playing as Cartman right now, but all of the South Park characters that you encounter in here that you do play as and play with because you build up a super team have some great abilities, lightning strikes, and one of them goes super fast like the Flash. So it's a gag game, and it's definitely poking fun at all of these things that we are familiar with in superheroes and in RPGs, but it plays really well, and that's the genius of these South Park video games and why they're so successful, the ones that Ubisoft has been publishing. I really dig it. I haven't played it enough that I can put a full score on it, but I thought, yes, this is an excellent port for the Switch. And another one that got sent to me is from Bandai Namco is the Ultimate Ninja Storm Trilogy. Now, these were games that came out on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and I remember I played the first game. I think I reviewed it with Scott Jones, who I love to terrorize with Naruto games. He just was like, oh my God, what are we doing here? But there's been this general sort of decent quality bar as far back as I can remember. I remember enjoying the Ubisoft Naruto game that they made, the open world one, and the Ultimate Ninja Storm games are actually pretty solid titles. They're at their core, they're fighting games, and each of them gives you huge rosters from the Naruto universe to be able to combat with and against, and the fighting is super flashy and super big. You've got these jutsus and super, crazy, mystical powers that you pull off. So it's just beautiful to watch. But they also each have these pretty elaborate, somewhat grindy story modes in there. And the first one actually offered up an open world, which was very similar to the Ubisoft open world experience. Where it was open world, but it was still kind of empty. A lot of characters just sort of standing around waiting for you to walk up to them and get into dialogue trees and stuff like that. But still, a pretty cool way to explore the Hidden Leaf Village. And I was a bit disappointed that the second and third games didn't extrapolate and give you a wider sense of an open world to explore. They kind of switched to a different camera perspective thing where you walk from one edge of Hidden Leaf Village, you cross a street, and then it switches cameras, and it gives you a different perspective, and you kind of go from camera to camera to camera. So you're not really controlling everything and going everything out where you want to. But the stories are actually pretty elaborate. You get sent on all kinds of missions, inevitably leading up to some big boss fights and some fights with some of the familiar characters. What's cool is that Bandai Namco worked with the Shonen Jump people to do the whole sort of run through the accurate Naruto storytelling, which is great. So if you are a super devout fan of the universe, you get a lot of the content that you might be already familiar with, a lot of the story content. And again, incredible cut sequences, some really elaborate, beautiful QuickTime events, and it also it almost looks 3D when you're playing it on your portable system, in terms of it's coming out of the screen at you, because you're not used to being able to walk around. Still, even a year into the Switch's lifespan, it's still amazing when you see these console games that you had only seen sort of locked to television screens before. Suddenly you're able to walk around with them, and they're just bursting with color and life and details like these games. It just looks incredible. And it's a pretty robust package as well if you get all three. I think the prerequisite is that you've got to be a Naruto fan, and you have got to have missed these games when they were originally released. But I think if you didn't play them and you dig this world, or you're fans of you're a fan of the anime series, or you're just looking for some fun fighting games, because there's some online fighting and there's some local co-op fighting and or local competitive fighting as well. Pretty solid package. I think all three of them are $50 in Canada, which is a ton of game for a pretty decent price. And again, blows my mind and opens my mind to the idea that this machine is a terrific receptacle for lots of great ports out there, and the opportunities are kind of endless. And I want to talk about that for a second here on our YouTube channel. I actually posted today. I wanted to get some ideas from people about some of the games that they would love to see ported, and I suggested Assassin's Creed 1 to 4, Metal Gear Solid 1 to 5, Marvel Ultimate Alliance games. Remember those games? The Tomb Raider 2013 to Rise of the Tomb Raider to the new one. Square Enix hasn't said anything about Tomb Raider for Switch, and Batman Arkham series I think would be amazing on the Switch platform as well. Got some pretty big votes for Metal Gear Solid 1 through 5. So Konami, if you are listening, the Switch would be an amazing platform to bring those Metal Gear games to, like a wonderful Metal Gear package. They have brought Metal Gear games to Nintendo platforms before, but an up-resed HD remake of the first few would be insane, and then they could just basically port 4 and find a way to figure out how to bring 5. I mean, if they could bring Breath of the Wild to this machine, I think they could probably bring Metal Gear Solid 5 to this machine. That would be incredible. And Diablo 1 to 3 is what Mirthful Gaming Network is asking for out there. That would be pretty rad as well. I think this machine, because you can bring it everywhere with you, it just screams, let's fill it with some of these titles that maybe have already been on other systems, but the uniqueness is take it with you and play it on planes, play it on trains. Awesome. And speaking of that, I've been playing, just got the code today, but I've been playing the new Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which was a Wii U game back in 2014. And again, this is one of these games where we were... and they did a decent job of the last Donkey Kong game that Retro made when they ported it to the 3DS. Pretty solid, but it was definitely a fidelity knockdown This is, if anything, it's an improvement because now you can play as Funky Kong, and Funky Kong actually has this cool surfboard and a double jump kind of ability. Sort of, it hovers like a little helicopter. It makes it a little bit easier because this is a punishingly difficult experience. But again, we played this on the Wii U, locked to our TV sets. You could play it on the handheld as well, which came with the Wii U, but it's a whole other thing to be able to leave your house and see. And this is, I was playing at Starbucks this morning, sitting there with my coffee and playing it off the screen. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe all of this color and activity and this wonderful 2D platform experiences on here. And that's another thing about the Switch that's been, kind of knocking me out too, is how many terrific two-dimensional scrolling experiences are already on this platform, whether they're, retro experiences like the Shovel Knight games, and I talked about Mighty Gunvolt Blast the other day, and Master Blaster Zero. Is there a Blaster Master Zero? One day I'll get those names right. It's really turning into a terrific machine. I would love if you were watching this, and maybe we'll read some of these in the in our Let's Play and chat later on, or in our comments if you're watching this as an archive. I would love your suggestions and your ideas for the best games to bring to the Nintendo Switch. And the more I play on this platform, and the more I'm impressed by it, the more I think that it's inevitable for companies like Sony and possibly even Microsoft to be looking at what the Switch is doing right and to come up with their alternative or their solution or their reaction to this, because it's pretty amazing to not lose any of that core experience and leave your house with it. Even Steam. I mean, wouldn't it be rad if the Steam box didn't work, but maybe there was a Steam Switch kind of thing, where you could leave the house and still play your games. Like, yes, you can play them on your laptop. It's not as elegant as this, not as easy as this. So anyways, I do believe that the Nintendo Switch is an ultimate port machine, and it feels like with every new port that comes in, that becomes reinforced. But let's talk a little bit about a television show now. Here is my review of Gotham Season 3. Now, I know I'm behind on this show, so you can start writing out all your comments below this video right now if you'd like to, but I finally caught up to Season 3 of Gotham. I watched the entirety of the season, and I'm trying to sort of, get back into this show. I want to get caught up. I know we're at the end of Season 4. We're almost at the season finale for the show, so I'm going to try to get caught up and do a full review of Season 4 as well, but I'm caught up to Season 3, and so this review is for those of you who, like me, have been inundated with lots and lots of different things to entertain you, and your Gotham viewing habits may have lapsed a little bit. And the question that you might have for me is, should I go back into Gotham and watch Season 3? And my answer to you is yes, you should, but you probably shouldn't binge it as quickly as I have been binging it. It is addictive, and you are left with lots of cliffhangers at the end of every episode, but it's kind of a mess as well. And I think a huge part of the problem with Gotham and any network television schedule out there right now is the sheer amount of episodes that have to be crafted. And this is true for The Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. I think a little bit less so with that show, but a lot of these shows, they have too many episodes for the creators to kind of grapple with, and they've got a huge assortment of cast members that they need to keep happy, and they've got massive contracts and all kinds of demands, and the writers all need to get paid. It's just a lot of sort of efforts to keep the machine of these shows in operation, and I think it hurts the overall sort of narrative impact that a show like Gotham could really have. There are things that I absolutely adore about this show. I think that it looks phenomenal. They got the style and the flow of the city. It looks like something ripped right out of the comic book pages, which I really appreciate. They've got some great effects to make, the New York City on-location shoots that they actually endeavor to put into this show look terrific. They gloom everything up a little bit. Sometimes they throw rain across the streets, and there's lots of nice glossy nighttime shots. And all of the interiors are, they're a little bit campy and they're a little sort of out of time, but it all works. I even love the fact that they all drive sort of retro 70s cars in here. I think it's great. There's a lot of really cool sort of production design choices in here that really work and really make the show kind of stand out from the rest of the stuff that you would see on network TV. Now, of course, this is the story of Batman before he becomes Batman, and there is a great emphasis on the relationship between Bruce Wayne and Alfred, and I really like this dynamic. Alfred, I think, is one of the strongest characters in the show. He is like a moral center. He is absolutely trying to teach Bruce Wayne everything that he has learned from his military background. There's a lot of, sort of creative leaps that they've taken with this Alfred character that make a tremendous amount of sense in the Batman mythos, even if it sort of deviates a lot from the comic book lore. I like that a lot. Detective Jim Gordon is played by Ben McKenzie, and he's kind of the lead of the whole show, and he's pretty solid as our Jim Gordon. I find that we rely on him punching his way through obstacles far too often in the show, though. I mean, they just, in every episode there is him beating up on bad guys and punching bad guys, in slow motion punching bad guys, and sometimes he points guns at people and he has to fire, and he's in major jams and calamities all the way through. I think he's buried alive. I think he's frozen. He's drugged. He's gets some viral infection type thing that turns him into this really massive creature. Every episode, he is just in harm's way and at the most severe sort of end of the idea of peril that's going to befall him. So it becomes a little bit like you're on this constant roller coaster ride in his shoes where you're screaming at the top of your lungs, and it's a little exhausting, and I don't think that does the character any real service, because Detective Gordon becomes Commissioner Gordon, and I think it's time, and maybe we get a bit more of this, to show that this cop that wants to do right is capable of more than just punching and shooting his way through every jam. He needs to kind of show a real leadership and some empathy, I think, for what some of the other characters are going through. Some ways to show that he can outsmart people rather than outpunch people. And I think that would be more interesting for the character. I don't mind his performance. It's just a bit one note. I really like Donal Logue as Bullock. He is the immoral center of the show, but he also finds his way to be a good cop, which is interesting, and he actually gets some real opportunities to have some big responsibilities in this season, which I think he takes on with his usual sort of shrug and sense of humor. And Donal Logue is just such a great actor. I just love him playing against almost everybody else in the show.
That's because I'm always in a room full of idiots.
Overall, I like the show. I mean, we get tons of great moments with Hugo Strange, and we're inside Arkham Asylum, and that Jerome character who's sort of the Joker, sort of not the Joker, comes back. The thing that you gotta understand about this series is that nobody really dies. Nobody really dies in comic books, but man, in this show, nobody really dies. And because there's so many episodes, within a season, you'll see a character die and then come back and be resuscitated. There's all kinds of, sort of mystical, magical, scientific kind of gunk that brings people back into the fray. And it's cool, but it does get a little tiresome, and it does sort of remove a lot of the stakes as well. And, part of the equation is that a lot of these characters are going to live on and become real enemies to Batman, so they can't kill him off. But it kind of paints the show into some narrative corners that I wish it wasn't in, and it really wouldn't work that well if it was just littered with red shirts, that they were constantly just killing, because you are interested in some of these bigger iconic characters, the Mr. Freeze and Catwoman, and and all the actors kind of do a good job at creating these performances, but we have a real absence with the fact that there is no Batman. It's now a very cluttered city. By the end of season 3, it's a very cluttered city with supervillains, and some of them have fantastical costumes, and they've got it down. They've got the comic book kind of vibe down, but there's no hero. The superhero is not there, and Jim Gordon is, try as he might, he's not a superhero. He's just a cop that gets beat up a little bit too much and beats up a little bit too much. I still dig the show, though. I'm curious to see how season 4 unfolds. I know that Bruce Wayne becomes much closer to becoming the Batman, so I'm excited to see where that goes. The end of season 3 kind of leads into the fact that we're about to see some huge sweeping changes. There's a lot of scenery chewing. There's a lot of resuscitation, and and characters that you think, okay, they're done with that character. They're never coming back. Poof, they're right back in the show again. There's a lot of that. Some eye roll moments for sure. But overall, I was impressed with Gotham. It held my interest. I wish that they could make less episodes and make each episode count a little bit more. But still, it's a solid 7.5 out of 10. So I am all in for Gotham Season 4. I'm definitely going to watch it. And what I'm planning to do is do 8 episodes, do a review of the first 8 episodes, and then do a review of the second 8 episodes, and then finish off the season and give you guys a full review. It's a lot of episodes, man. A lot of content to sort of soak up. But yeah, pretty impressed with Gotham. And then I guess the next show I got to catch up on again is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I heard got much better as that show went on. So many comic book shows, so many cool TV shows that are right in my wheelhouse, but, got to make the time for it. Something that we're making the time for today is Republic Commando. I did the buried treasure for it. It's one of the Xbox One's backwards compatibility titles. It was an original Xbox game, I think like 2003, 2004. This was a game... I think we did a really cool segment on this with Jade Raymond, if memory serves me correctly, where we had Republic Commandos cruising around San Francisco. I remember working with LucasArts on awesome things like that. We posted a classic piece that we did on Battlefront 1 with Jeff Keighley today, so make sure you watch that if you haven't seen that in a while. But let's play a little bit of Star Wars Galactic Commando, and this is Let's Play a Chat. So, hello, Blake. So just let us know if you've got any comments or questions or feedback or Star Wars stories or anything you want to share with us today. And let's get into a little Star Wars Galactic Commando and try to remember how to play this game.
Let me know if the audio is too loud.
Okay, so I am now rappelling into a battlefield, and...
Yeah, so what is the backstory of this game? Because I never played it.
It was an Unreal Engine game set in the sort of... I think it came out between Episode 2 and 3, if I'm not mistaken. So it's set during the period of the prequels. And of course, we started to learn about the clones as warriors. And so this kind of gave you a sense to kind of sympathize with these as characters as they go and fight battle droids and insects and things like that. But it also picked up on the success of the Rainbow Six games that Ubisoft and Red Storm had created. And it was, a tactical shooter where you had a bunch of allies with you. You're a 4-man squad, and each of the characters has different abilities and stuff like that. So I can't remember any of the controls. It's been forever since I played this.
Well, they got to be pretty standard shooter controls, right?
Yeah, but then there's a whole bunch of mechanics of sending your team into battle and stuff.
Right.
Okay, so I'm trying
So
use
people,
back to heal.
So, some of the people in the chat are asking what happened to Kratos. I moved him because there's not enough room on this table for 2 people and that Kratos because it's so big.
We're gonna get Kratos his own show.
Yeah, like he'd be right here covering my face.
Yeah, we'll just get him on his own sort of God of War set.
Give him his own show. Yeah. Well, I would watch a talk show hosted by Kratos.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
So, boy, you have a new movie coming out. What's that about?
To him, everybody would be a boy, too. Okay, so I don't know how to use back to the heal. I guess I should look at the controls. Can I see that? Options.
Some people are asking
options.
Some people are asking when this became available on the backward compatibility.
Very recently, like in the last couple of weeks, I'm pretty sure.
Does this have any of the enhancements? Because I know some of them have like HDR support.
I can't tell you on this television, but I do think it had some enhancements. On my 4K TV at home, I'm looking forward to checking it out. Oh, here's the back tank.
Because this looks really good.
I think it is improved.
Yeah.
I was super impressed by SSX and by Panzer Dragoon Orta. Couldn't believe it. Okay, so we're in the training mode now. So I've switched to the pistol because I'm out of ammunition. Okay, you must pick up ammunition. Okay. Okay, cool. Battle droids.
We had a good comment from Attention Gaming Disorder saying how you asked what games ought to be ported to the Switch, and he said Fez would be a good game on the Switch.
Fez, yes.
Fez would be great. Pretty much any side-scrolling platformer game would be awesome on the Switch.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with kind of old school games, and I'm really curious to find out what Nintendo's going to do with their back catalog. You know, because they still haven't announced what their subscription-based internet service is going to provide. You know?
Ooh, Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought of right away with, especially when they're doing ports, and I'll talk about this more in my review, but there was a perfect opportunity for Nintendo to provide like the full Donkey Kong Country collection as part of the game. So all the Super Nintendo games, even the first Wii game, right? Like the Donkey Kong Country celebration.
Yeah, but then it would be a bigger thing, and I could see why they wouldn't do that, though.
Well, I mean, they're not doing that because they can sell them all to us again, but...
Could you imagine if Nintendo's subscription platform had every Nintendo game on it?
Yeah.
I would pay... How much would you pay for that a month?
$15 a month?
I'd pay more than that.
You'd pay more than that?
Well, for if it had every Nintendo game. Every first-party Nintendo game from every platform. That's some of the best games ever made.
Yeah,
that would be
for
awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Well, don't tell them that because they're going to say, well, we'll charge more than
I would pay $30 a month.
What? That's so much money.
For every one of those.
Have you seen Netflix?
Have you seen how awesome those Nintendo games are, though?
Yes, but like $8 a month, man. Like everybody's going to come out with a streaming thing, and I think...
You know what? You're right. I didn't... Yeah, because Netflix is only like $10 a month.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I think $15 a month should be the standard for all of these gaming streaming services, which are inevitable and likely to be announced in some pretty big ways.
The thing is, though, it has to work when you're not online. You need to be able to download the games locally and play them even when the internet is turned off.
Guys, I'm playing Republic Commando. I can't believe it.
Somebody, I think it's Attention Gaming Disorder, has asked why I hate Rogue One. Please explain. I don't know. Do you think I should, Vic? How much time do we have?
No, today is a day of celebration.
How much time do we have?
Today is not a day to complain about The Last Jedi and Rogue One.
Yeah, and it's Friday afternoon. I don't think I have enough time or patience to explain all the problems I have with Rogue One. But basically, the short of it is the same problems that pretty much everyone else has with that movie.
People love that movie, Blake.
I don't have any hot takes or special opinions that are unique.
Well,
I just don't like it.
All right, here we go.
Jordan Cunningham has a comment. I wish Nintendo would do an HD remaster of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Oh, that'd be cool, yes.
They've remade that game, though, haven't they? Wasn't that like one of the 3DS games was a remake of that?
Yeah. And the 3DS had some great stuff, but it's certainly feeling way more dated now, man. Especially when you're comparing it directly to the Switch.
Somebody says, Vic, your aim is a little off.
Yeah.
But you're a stormtrooper, so your aim should be a little off.
I'm a clone trooper.
Well, it's the same thing. Oh, no, wait. Are the stormtroopers are they clones or are they people? They're people now because they sort of retconned it, right?
Yeah, they did, yeah. Got some thermal detonators, and I'm going to heal. I'm at full health. How do I switch my weapons? Low light mode. See, they have all of these cool vision things that they totally lifted from... How come I can't get my...
Use the force.
There it is.
Just use the force, Vic.
Got you. Now let's take this thing out. There it is. Bye-bye. Into the bunker.
Sam Hain 111 says,
Nice.
I'm still very upset about the Saints Row DS game that was canceled. I would love a Saints Row game on the Switch. Yeah, they could port the last one. Because they did a next-gen, current-gen port of the last Saints Row game, didn't they?
The last Ezio game?
No, the Saints Row game.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they did. Saints Row...
So they could probably port that easily to the Switch.
Totally.
That would work well, too.
That would be great, yeah. Those games would be a lot of fun.
The problem is, though, when you think of portable games, playing them in public might be a bit embarrassing if they're more violent. You know, like if you're playing a game that has a lot of swearing or
You
sex
think?
stuff. Yeah, if you're sitting
Okay,
in,
here's
say
my
you're,
buddy.
say you're sitting in an airplane seat next to a little kid.
There's Scorch. Okay, cool. Starting to come back to me. Now, Scorch has all kinds of abilities. I keep just throwing thermal detonators like they're candy. Okay. Point at the blue. There we go. Oh, it's very easy. Most of it's just the A button. Okay, go do that.
Blade Blur is asking if the game is native to widescreen. We
I
didn't
think
do
it
any.
is, yeah.
It must be because we didn't do any special setup.
It came pretty late in the original Xbox lifespan, as far as I can remember.
Unless that's an enhancement for the Xbox One X.
No, they didn't do too much of that.
Yeah, because I didn't change any settings when we set it up earlier, so yeah, it was just
Super
it just
cool,
looked like
man.
this. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely blocky and chunky, but
It
here
looks
we are
good.
in Star Wars land.
This holds up. I don't mind the way this looks.
Yeah.
I mean, for a game for 2005, this was excellent.
I freaking love. Is that when it was? 2005?
Or 2004, 2005, something
Yeah.
like that.
I freaking love the Xbox kind of mission statement, and I think you ran something on that not too long ago on
On the rundown. Yeah.
The
Phil Spencer at E3
yeah, Phil
last
Spencer's
year.
comment, like how important it is, just like books and movies and all that stuff. It's so important, and us
Absolutely,
being
yeah.
able to dive back into these classic games, like look how much we can enjoy them, but also learn from them. You know.
And they're an important piece of. Not only are they fun to play, but they're an important piece of culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there's nothing current that's like this in the Star Wars universe that we can play, which is amazing, right? Like the closest to this is Battlefront 2, which is getting better and better.
How many loot boxes are in this game, Vic?
No loot boxes.
Yeah, I mean, there's no old movie that I can't watch on Blu-ray
Yeah.
or other modern formats. So
Yeah.
why aren't games the same thing?
I love it.
Leafs fan has a question for you, Vic.
Yes.
Have you finalized your plans for E3 coverage? Are you going in person or doing live streams from the studio?
We are doing both. Blake and I are going to go down there and work with Jose to cover stuff on location. We're actually going to be covering some stuff a little earlier than E3, so I think some of that stuff is going to be timed to release at E3. We're doing some on-location reporting on some of that kind of material. And we're also going to be in the studio streaming, and I believe we're going to be working with Baruti. I still have to confirm with him, but we had a great time last year, so I think we're probably going to do that again this year. Oh, there's our third guy.
Last year we flew down. We were in the air during Nintendo's press conference.
That's right. Yeah,
That might have been a mistake because they had, I think, the best one.
they did have a great one. Yeah.
Might have to do that again this year just because their press conferences are always late. They do their E3 press conferences during actual E3.
Well, they do it on Tuesday day.
Yeah,
and-
which is technically the first day of E3, whereas
Yeah.
Microsoft and Sony do it before.
So I've got my slicer going in there, so he's hacking basically. Okay, so it takes a second to hack. I get it. Okay.
Julia Barden says, I have all the Star Wars movies. I have all three of them too. I have all three Star Wars movies. All three of them.
I wonder if are people watching the movies today or playing Star Wars games, doing anything to celebrate?
Yeah, Hops Goblin said earlier, what Star Wars film are you all going to watch today? I guess because it's Star Wars Day, you have to watch a Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
I'll probably watch Star Wars.
You gonna
Or-
watch Star Wars today?
Yeah, the one movie called Star Wars and its two sequels.
1977.
Yeah, The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It's not hard to pick one when there's only three.
You really should check out Rogue One. Incredible movie. And
Yeah,
Force
Rogue
Awakens
One-
was a blast.
Rogue
too.
One
They did a
looks
great
really
job.
good. I really like the look of Rogue One. There's some nice shots in that movie. Except for the cartoon characters.
So glowing orange things are explosions.
I have a good question from Darkstorm CH007.
Okay.
What do you think about the Star Wars Holiday Special?
I've never watched that. I've only
never
watched
watched
that
that?
in pieces.
I-
I tried
I've
to watch it because somebody put it up on Facebook, and
It's probably me that did that.
I tried to watch it, and it's punishing, man.
I've sat down and watched it 3 or 4 times. I've watched it once by myself, and then I've made people watch it. Like, I made my sister and her husband watch it at Christmas 2015 before we went and saw The Force Awakens.
It is the Room of holiday specials.
And I was thinking, because we did that Room video where you sat down and watched The Room for the first time, I was thinking we should maybe do that for the Star Wars holiday special.
And we just call these like Victor Lucas torture chamber.
Yes.
Torture view.
It's me being sadomasochistic and forcing other people to watch it. It's delightfully awful. If you've never sat down and watched it, it is kind of hard.
B. Arthur in that damn thing?
B. Arthur is in it.
Yes.
And so is Harvey Korman.
Oh my god.
And what's the other guy? Forget the other guy's name. There's some other old that era comedian in it. Bruce Valanche wrote it. It's awful. I think my favorite part of the Star Wars holiday special is Harrison Ford just phoning it in.
Yeah.
Really, really badly. More than he phones in all his other performances in recent films.
What are your guys' thoughts on Solo now? Are you excited that it's starting to look a little bit better, or do you still have a lot of skepticism? And did you buy your tickets already?
Honestly, I'm thinking it looks better than I was afraid of. But we'll have to wait and see till the movie comes out.
Yeah.
Oh, we just got a super chat from Blade Blur. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Blade Blur. You rock, my friend.
A lot of people commenting about the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're in the dark. This is one of the cool things.
Sorry, I have a question.
I'm in low light.
Top Shelf Gaming is asking, did you play this online back in the day when it first came out?
I'm sure I did, yeah. Oh, that's one of my guys. I can't remember tons about it. I've played a bajillion games since this came out, so that's the beauty of going back, man. That's why it's so important for these backwards compatibility titles.
Can you play this online? On the Xbox One? Like, are the servers
I don't think so. I don't think they're doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
You can system link, though, and there's a split screen mode in this as well. But I wanted to do the whole full screen on it.
That'd be cool if they redid, like, the original Battlefront on the Xbox and brought back the servers.
Yeah, you can still play Battlefront 2 on Steam online.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
How many loot boxes?
No loot boxes.
You mean the real Battlefront 2? The original.
Battlefront 2 is a real game, and it's been greatly improved since all the feedback came.
It's the Phantom Menace of Battlefront games.
Blow up that wall! Oh, I gotta aim at it and then blow it up. Okay. Now we can go this way. All right.
Few people. I'm seeing
Cool.
I'm seeing a mixed response from your question about Solo.
About Solo, yeah. People haven't been going nuts about the fact because they just unlocked the tickets yesterday.
Yeah.
And I saw on Twitter that some people have got their tickets, but it's not like. There's definitely some hesitation right now. I think the Last
honestly,
Jedi burned a lot of people.
Yeah, there's that. But the thing is, all the behind-the-scenes drama of Solo, like 9 out of 10 people haven't even heard of that. You know, we hear it because this is what we do.
Yeah, we're reporting on it.
Yeah, the average person, like my mom, doesn't know the behind-the-scenes drama. Like, they're just gonna see, a new Star Wars movie.
But I also feel like the average person that went to see The Last Jedi has
that's
some
the biggest
qualms,
hindrance.
right?
That's the biggest hindrance to the movie is that, not the behind-the-scenes stuff. Jordan Cunningham is asking if you're going to play the classic Battlefront 1 and 2 on the Xbox One. Because are they backwards compatible?
Yes, they are.
Because they have single player, right?
Yeah, they do. Especially 2. I probably will. I want to check them out for sure. I did check out Battlefront 2 last year on the PC, and was very impressed and surprised at how well it holds up. Pandemic was an incredible company. I am begging Microsoft, if you are watching this, because we're giving you a lot of love for your backwards compatibility. We love that you're doing this. Please bring Saboteur. Work with Electronic Arts and bring the Saboteur to the Xbox One.
That was a good game.
That was such a good game. And EA, wake up and make a sequel to that great game. And
that was the last one Pandemic did, right?
I think so. Yeah. They really screwed themselves with how ambitious they got. They were making. Remember, they made the Lord of the Rings open world Battlefront-like game, and they made Battlefront 2, and they made. I think they'd moved on from Full Spectrum Warrior, but they'd made the Mercenaries 2 game. They had all of these, and Saboteur, and they had all of these open world games which had different engines, all being developed at the exact same time. And so they had a lot of people.
So they had multiple engines going.
Multiple engines, multiple teams, incredibly expensive, and then of course they sold to EA, and then EA is a pretty, say what you will about them, but they know, how to sort of figure out how to spend their money on their game developers.
Yeah.
Because they're a very fiscally minded business, and so I think Pandemic just looked very expensive to them.
Yeah. That's too
But
bad.
they were so talented. So talented.
I had a good.
What am I doing? Shoot strategy room glass. Oh, just shoot this. Okay.
I have a good question here from Sydney K.
Okay.
Asking which Star Wars games are better, the games based on the original trilogy or the games based on the prequels? Because obviously the original trilogy movies are better, but what about the games?
I think you have to throw in the Rogue Squadron games and the X-Wing games.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, those are a part of it.
Even though they came so far after, yeah, they're based on the original trilogy.
I think the original trilogy stuff, I think it always hurts the brand if original trilogy isn't included in the game.
Yeah.
It's just you're wondering where it is. This is one of the best examples of, and I would argue that Battlefront 2 on the current gen Battlefront 2 is one of the best examples of doing the prequel stuff right. Because say what you will about the prequels, they gave you lots of cool production design to work with, lots of cool environments and cool enemies. Battle droids were always lame because they felt like comic relief, but they're also a very safe video game enemy, battle droids.
Oh,
Love shooting at robots.
Blade Blur just discovered our Vic emote.
Our what?
The emote.
Yes.
We have an emote for subscribers.
Do we have a second? Oh, yeah, we have a Vic emote. Yes, I did one, but I still need to make more of those.
Can you not get rid of the white around it?
I thought I did, but I'm not very good at building emotes. Someone needs to point me to a YouTube video for how to make good emotes, so I will learn how to do that properly. I had fun doing that.
Thorazine666 says, I hope everyone is having a great day.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Star Wars Day.
The Star Wars Day leading into the weekend. Not too bad, right? Okay. So now I think I've got my full team. Yes, I do. No, I only have three of my... Oh, I do. I have all four. So I have Fixer, Scorch, and Sev. Okay, one of you guys go and snipe.
Hobgoblin asks, do you think
Okay.
a big budget affects a movie in a negative light nowadays? Like if they use a smaller budget, does that force them to be more creative? I think is what he's asking.
No, not necessarily. I think I just look at them as tools, and big budget effects movies can still be a lot of fun, even if the idea is ridiculous. Like there was still enjoyment to be had in the Rampage movie, which is a terrible example, but I'm not offended by the lack of use of practical effects or the reliance to.
I don't know if he's talking just about special effects. I think he just means big budget in general. I think.
You know what? I think it's got more to do with how authentic the effects work within the confines of the story. Like cheesy effects in where they should be. And I'll give you an example. Mute by Duncan Jones. Interesting flick. It's one of those Netflix sort of swing and miss type movies. Interesting flick, but it's hampered a little bit by its lack of budget to create really compelling, world bits around the story. And it sort of suffered from the fact that it didn't have the budget that was in Altered Carbon, which was pretty good in terms of effects, but it was also compared to Blade Runner 2049, which is, I think, state of the art. I think that's one of the best sort of uses of practical and in-camera and digital effects that we've seen recently. So it's not really about the intelligence of telling a story without effects. It's the use of those effects and us not missing them. But if you look at the flick that I just reviewed there, that Anon movie, it was pretty simplistic in its effects. It's very analogous to the stuff that we're seeing in the Black Mirror TV show, which I think that does a pretty good job with a limited budget to create compelling worlds. But even though it was kind of limited, it didn't take me out of the story. It was cool.
The AI on your companions is great.
Yeah.
The way they're like huddling around the door and ran in like that.
Yeah, no,
that's like better than most modern games.
It's really cool, and we don't see enough of this. I think Rainbow Six Siege gives you that when you play with other people. It'll feel like that as long as you're all playing things properly. But I used to.
It's not like when I play Rainbow Six and I just run around with a shotgun.
Yeah, I'm totally that guy too. I would just run ahead with my flamethrower and try to burn everybody.
Just try to shoot everything. Like, just be Rambo about it.
But I remember loving the Rainbow Six games on the original Xbox. I had so much fun with those games.
I'm getting a Halo vibe from this.
Yeah, totally. You'd never seen this before, have you?
I was not into it when it first came out, just because I was done with the prequels.
Right.
But yeah, no, it looks good.
Yeah,
I never
it's
played
cool.
it, right? But I mean, I was aware of this game.
What I love about it, same with the Force Unleashed, is it was internal and it was ambitious and it was made with love for the lore and a real pride, from the game developers to be contributing to Star Wars, which was, that was the prerequisite for anybody working at LucasArts. Was they just had to be in love with the brand and had a real desire to want to contribute to it, and this was their opportunity to do that. Same with the first Force Unleashed was so good.
I have a good question here from Patrick Furtado.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Star Wars character?
Ooh, Han Solo. That's kind of a boring answer, but he's just the most badass. I just love him. When I was a kid, my very first favorite Star Wars character was R2-D2.
That's mine.
And I was just talking to Blake before we rolled today that how sad it's become to see that R2-D2 has basically become a projector that's been put into a garage with a
that's all he's
cloth,
done in both of the movies, the new movies.
Cloth draped over it.
He just projects a thing, and that's his whole function. Yeah.
He's like an old projector, Like you don't have enough money to buy a new lamp for, so you just put it in the garage, which is terrible. I mean, he basically started his feistiness and his independence, to lead C-3PO off of Princess Leia's ship with the message for Obi-Wan, basically started the first trilogy and got us going into the Skywalker redemption story.
He's the POV character for the first movie.
Yeah,
right?
and now he's just a projector in a garage, pretty much.
And the cool thing about R2 is because he doesn't really talk, you can project a lot of yourself onto him.
Yeah.
They should make a video game where he plays R2. He'd be a perfect video game
Well,
character.
he's been in games, but not...
No, you play as R2.
Yeah, I mean, when they retconned all of the new abilities in the prequel trilogy, it was very weird. Like, suddenly he's got rocket boosters and, like, why didn't he use those on Dagobah? There was just a lot of...
He was out of fuel.
Okay. It was just a lot of weird things that they did with R2, and I don't know.
I just
BB-8.
defended one of the prequels.
Yeah, I know you did.
Oh my god.
I love BB-8. Don't get me wrong. Great creation, but it does feel like a lot of what BB-8 does, R2 could have done. And so maybe the answer was not to make a new R2, but to make a new K2SO kind of thing, for the new trilogy. Because K2SO was kind of cool as well.
Yeah, Blade Blur is saying a game with R2-D2, it would be like playing as Clank in the Ratchet and Clank games.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a good idea. They could do it.
We sure need more first and third person story-driven experiences in Star Wars,
Could be a good VR game too to play as R2.
Hopefully that's what the Respawn guys are working on right now. It's just something that blows our minds like this and the original Force Unleashed.
Well, we know it's going to have lightsaber combat.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all we know about the game so far.
I would also love a new Rogue Squadron or new X-Wing games, you know? Like, I can't believe that there isn't a multiplayer-focused X-Wing game online right now, or a multiplayer-focused VR X-Wing experience right now. It'd be so kick-ass. Okay, we're disabling this jamming device. Okay. Also, we're jamming that device over there is going to take off the shield, and then we're going to go over there and blow it up.
Graham Coombe is asking,
so great. What
is your favorite prequel movie and why?
I love the third one, actually. I thought the third one was a lot of fun. I have good memories about seeing that movie, because LucasArts, before an E3, took a bunch of us journalists and a lot of the LucasArts team to see it at the ArcLight cinemas in Hollywood. And so, pristine picture, pristine sound. And Lucas, I think, was...
Do you notice how your first bit of praise was that it looked good and sounded good?
Well, it did, and I like where the drama got to, you know, and it was a spectacle, but it had way more intelligence and heart than the first two movies did, and it connected the storylines in a pretty clever way, you know. I still think it's a solid movie.
Do you know what mine is? It might surprise you.
Phantom Menace.
The Phantom Menace, and the only reason is because it's the only one that was shot on film.
Yeah.
I like the way the not the CGI stuff, but the live action stuff in the Phantom Menace. I like the way it looks, and I like the way it's lit. And that's my only bit of praise for the movie, and that's the only reason I hate it less than the other ones.
It when Scott and I re-reviewed all the movies before Force Awakens came out. Didn't hate it, and I was surprised that I didn't. But
it's a bad
Star
movie,
Wars
Vic.
2 is abysmal. That is an unwatchable monstrosity. That is just a terrible, terrible movie.
You know, I didn't hate them the first two anyway when they came out, because I was like 12 and 14 or whatever.
Yeah.
I actually liked the Attack of the Clones when it first came out, but you know, in recent years, once I became an adult and I started to rewatch them, I was like, yeah, these are not good.
So bad. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to lower level. But I actually like 3. I like the lightsaber duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan became the coolest character in that trilogy. I love Ewan McGregor. I'm a huge fan of his. So I think he did a great job. And they had not very much Jar Jar in the third movie.
Do you know that?
Yoda was pretty kick-ass.
Do you want me to say something controversial?
Yeah.
Jar Jar is the only character in any of the prequels. He's the only character that has a personality, and he's terrible, but compared to everyone else in those movies who's just a monotonous robot, Jar Jar Binks is the closest thing to like an actual character.
Oh no.
At least new character that any of those prequels has.
Maintain current. Will they come and heal me? Come and heal me. Heal me. They completely, they trapped us. They got us.
You got killed by the episode 2 bugs?
They were waiting for us. The episode 2 bugs.
The bugs who built the Death Star until they didn't, until it got built by Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that? They must have had a comic or something where they explain it, right? Because these bugs make the Death Star.
In the second movie?
Yeah, you see them with the Death Star plans.
With the plans, right.
And then so how did
they
were
all just indentured slaves to the Empire. They were everybody.
No, but it was their plans for the
yeah,
for
but
the thing.
They were not leaders. They were just
no, but the leader of the bugs.
Yes.
But the leader of the bugs says these it's their.
Here are the plans.
Yeah, he's like, here are the plans for the ultimate weapon, and then you see Palpatine with them in episode 3.
Yeah.
So where does Hannibal and Ben Mendelsohn come in? What, did they must have taken it over?
Okay, I don't know. Yes.
But it's like
maybe they had them built, and then these guys were doing the first real testing.
It's so stupid, because Hannibal.
It took many years to build it, right?
But Hannibal says he's the one who put in the design flaw. So he added that to their design. So what was their design? Just a sphere? And then they had to add everything else? Like, what kind of design is that?
Right. So,
what I'm saying is that
you're going into your criticism.
What I'm saying is
Rogue One
episode
right
2 is dumb.
Okay. to have these bugs create the ultimate weapon.
There's no reason for them to have the Death Star plans in the movie.
Well, maybe they designed it. Maybe these were the designers, but they didn't build it. And
yeah, but Hannibal designed it.
It had to be.
But in Rogue One, they say Hannibal designed it.
Maybe it had to be interpreted by him.
Okay.
I'm sure there's lore that explains this.
Yeah, there's
So
there has to be a
killed
comic
everybody.
or something. So
I remember this being a choke point playing this originally. This was tough.
Vent shafts leading to the factory are located on the opposite side of the spire.
Okay.
Figures. My readings are unable to find a way across the spire.
what do you think of the Star Wars fighting game on the PS1?
Oh, Masters of
Masters of Terakashi?
Terraskasai.
Of Teriyaki?
Tiramisu, as Tommy used to say.
Masters of
It was
Teriyaki?
pretty bad. Pretty crazy. I actually liked, speaking of Episode 3, I liked the Episode 3 game that you talked about.
Oh yeah, we had it
this
in
day,
the
very
this day,
recently.
yeah.
Well, it might be coming up.
Or it might be, yeah,
Yeah.
it hasn't aired yet.
Yeah.
Or maybe it, no, it aired today.
Oh,
in
it's
this
today.
episode, yeah.
Okay.
We cut these things in advance, so we never remember which one is which.
That was a cool game.
Oh,
Telephone.
telephone.
Getting a phone call here.
Should I hit decline on the,
What time is
on
it?
the iPad?
2:46. Okay, we're gonna call the stream in about 5 minutes. Let's see if we can get past this choke point here.
Should I hit decline there?
Decline. Yeah, there you go.
It's so weird when you get a phone call and it goes to your iPad. It always trips me up now. 'Cause It
Yes.
happens to me. Like
Oh,
I'll
I
be
know.
sitting at home and I'll get a phone call and it'll pop up on my computer. Like, what the hell? Didn't Lego Star Wars 1 come out at the same time as the Episode 3 game? Oh, wasn't it a year
Oh,
later?
Shit, probably. Oh my God, they're all dead. Come on, help me! Help me! My health is critical. Get over to the health.
Okay,
pad.
here we have an important bit of information here from Wizard of Loneliness.
Okay.
In the comics, the Hannibal character I like how everyone's calling him Hannibal now, just because I called him that. The Hannibal character obtains the plans after race. Oh, he's making up a joke. Okay. I thought he was going to actually give us the answer.
Come on, get these guys. Oh, my aiming was terrible. Did I lose my dudes? Yep, my squad's unavailable.
I thought Wizard of Loneliness was going to give us the actual important reason, but he's just making a joke. So,
Right.
so you got me.
Here, you play for a second.
You want me to play? Oh shit. The controllers are inverted. What do I do?
Shoot.
Hang on. Hang on, I gotta. Okay. Okay. I don't have my glasses on, Vic. Is there team kill? Oh shit. What am I doing? I don't know the
Okay.
controls.
I got
Okay,
you.
all I did was
I
invert
got
the
you.
controls, so I didn't even do anything. You gotta
got
invert
you.
it back.
Oh no, you went.
That's all I did basically, and it ran down a hallway for 5 seconds. That's in game options, yeah.
Yes, accept. All right, there we go. Let's see if we can get past this checkpoint.
Look out! Flank the new target. Find cover.
Oh, I keep pressing the left trigger to aim down the sights, but you don't do that in this game. Oh, this guy's tough. That's what it is.
A lot of people in the chat are defending Episode 3 and the other prequels by saying things like, oh, the action was good, the lightsaber combat was good, the music was good.
Yeah.
But that's the most superficial thing.
Yes.
That's not what makes Star Wars good.
I liked
those are the
Order
same things.
66. I liked you know, the
What
going
matters,
to Kashyyyk and
what matters is the story, the characters,
the story in 3
tone,
was pretty solid,
the adventure.
and performances.
The lightsaber battles and the music are the superficial parts that aren't important. They're important after you get the important stuff right.
Yeah.
And the prequels do not get the important stuff right.
But you actually do care about all my guys are dead. You did a terrible job at telling them how to stay alive. Oh, my health is critical.
Did I kill you guys? I didn't kill
No,
you.
I did. Ugh.
You're bad squad
This is
leader.
hard. This is damn hard. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. And then I gotta go.
They must have
Oh.
screwed up the cloning machines when they
Okay,
made
this
you.
is the last time, and we're trying to get past this super quick.
Figures. My readings are unable to find a way across the spire to the factory. I'm going to have
When are you going to make E3 predictions?
Actually shooting some stuff on Monday with Johnny, so stay tuned for that. Johnny Millennium from Happy Console Gamer.
Let's make one right now. Give the people something special. You said one to me a few days ago.
We are gonna see PlayStation 5, but it's not coming out until next year. We're gonna see something about what the next level of gaming is from Sony.
I think next year we will.
Next year we will get the price and the release date.
You also predicted Halo 6?
Halo 6
Didn't
for
you
sure,
say that?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also think that Xbox might be, that's it, dead
No.
again. I'm at the choke point, that's tough. We will have lots of cool E3 predictions. I'm super excited to see all the software and everything that they've got in store for us out there. But that does it for us today. Have yourselves an incredible weekend.
Okay, bye, everyone.
We've got lots of great stuff coming up for you next week, and on the weekend we'll have another classic episode of Electric Playground. Lots for you to enjoy and watch from what we've been posting recently. So if you do and you like it, hit subscribe, that little bell. And if you're so inclined, don't forget we've got a sponsorship button too. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.